The wind sweeps over an ancient African plain, carrying dust and the echo of thunder. The world is raw and merciless, vast herds of towering elephants, saber-toothed predators lurking in the shadows, and endless skies torn by storms. It's 1.9 million years ago, and among this chaos walks Homo erectus, upright, alert, driven by something no other creature possesses: curiosity. Lightning has struck hours ago, setting a patch of grass ablaze. The flames twist and hiss, devouring the dry land, alive with motion and sound. A small band of early humans gathers near, watching from the edge of fear. The fire crackles like a wild animal, spitting sparks into the night. It kills, it consumes, but it also glows with warmth, pushing back the cold darkness. They could run. Every instinct tells them to. Yet one of them steps closer. His heart races. The air shimmers with heat. The group watches as he kneels, eyes locked on the flickering light. And for the first time, instead of fleeing from nature's fury, humankind stops to study it. What happens in that moment is not just survival, it's awakening. A spark ignites not only in the dry grass, but in the human mind. Wonder replaces fear. The realization that fire can destroy and protect, terrify and comfort, becomes the first step in humanity's greatest transformation. The storm fades. The night grows quiet. The flames settle into glowing embers, painting the faces of those who dared to approach. Their shadows dance on the stones, long and trembling, a silent testimony to the birth of courage, intelligence, and control over nature. From that night forward, the world would never be the same. The fire they watched was not just a blaze in the grass, it was the first light of civilization. And through that light, humanity began to see itself. If you had been there, staring into the fire for the first time, would you fear it or embrace it? Tell us what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like this video if you want more stories about the dawn of humankind. The Earth, 1.9 million years ago, was not a place of comfort. It was a battlefield of instinct and endurance, where every sunrise brought a new trial. Across the African landscape, the ground trembled beneath the weight of giants. Towering elephants with curved tusks, roaring predators with saber-like teeth, and herds of colossal antelopes crashing through the golden plains. The air shimmered with heat, thick with the scent of dust and danger. In this unforgiving world, life was measured in heartbeats. For Homo erectus, survival was a delicate balance between fear and adaptation. They had no claws, no fangs, no armor, only intelligence, stone tools, and the will to endure. Each day demanded vigilance. A rustle in the tall grass could mean death. A hidden waterhole might be the difference between life and extinction. Yet through hunger, storms, and relentless predators, these early humans learned something extraordinary: to read the world around them. They studied the patterns of migration, the paths of rivers, the rhythms of seasons. When the great cats hunted, they scavenged from what remained. When the droughts came, they followed the herds north, chasing life itself across the horizon. Every choice was a calculation, every discovery a victory. The earth did not offer mercy, but it offered lessons, and humanity learned fast. Nights were long and terrifying. Without fire, the darkness belonged to the beasts. The cries of hyenas, the thunder of approaching hooves, the heavy silence before an ambush, all of it pressed against the fragile circle of human existence. But in that pressure, something began to form. Collaboration, communication, the first traces of strategy, the understanding that strength did not come from the individual, but from the group. And under the vast sky, lit only by stars, those small bands of Homo erectus began to dream, to imagine a world where they were not the hunted, but the masters of their fate. The seeds of that dream would soon ignite, quite literally, when they learned to harness the most powerful force nature had to offer. Long before humanity learned to master the flame, they were its silent witnesses. Across the African plains, storms often split the sky with electric fury. Lightning struck the dry savannas, igniting waves of fire that rolled like living beasts across the horizon. From a safe distance, small groups of Homo erectus watched, terrified but mesmerized. The fire devoured everything in its path, roaring through the tall grass, painting the dusk in red and gold. It was destruction and beauty fused into one. No creature dared to challenge it. Predators fled, the air filled with smoke and the cries of burning forests. Yet once the fire passed, something remarkable remained. A transformed world. Charred earth teemed with new growth. Ash enriched the soil. Fresh shoots sprouted quickly, drawing grazing animals back to the open fields. For those early humans, this cycle of destruction and renewal was an enigma. Fire killed, but it also gave life. In time, they began to follow the burn lines, scavenging what the flames left behind. Cooked roots, cracked bones rich with marrow, carcasses of animals caught in the blaze, all easier to chew, easier to digest. Without understanding why, they had stumbled upon the first benefits of cooked food. The fire that once inspired terror was now a source of nourishment and opportunity. Days turned into generations, and curiosity grew bolder. Some began to venture closer to the dying embers, touching the warmth of the blackened ground, observing how fire turned wood to ash and stone to color. The orange glow reflected in their eyes, perhaps for the first time lighting more than just the world around them. It illuminated their thoughts. There, amid the smoke and silence, the human mind began to ask questions no other creature dared to form. What is this power? Can it be controlled? Can it belong to us? Those questions would burn in them like a promise, because while nature created fire through chaos, humanity would soon learn to kindle it through will. And when that day came, the balance between mankind and the wild would change forever. The rain has stopped. Smoke rises gently from the blackened fields where fire once roared. The scent of burned grass still lingers in the air, but something miraculous has survived. A cluster of glowing embers, pulsing faintly beneath the ash. Homo erectus gathers around, cautious, yet determined. The storm has passed, but within those dying coals lies a mystery that will forever separate humans from every other creature on Earth. They kneel beside the embers, shielding them from the wind with trembling hands. The faint heat brushes their skin, a fragile heartbeat of nature itself. They have seen fire born from lightning, from chaos, from destruction. But now, for the first time, they attempt to keep it alive. Dry leaves, twigs, fragments of bark, these become their tools. They feed the coals, learning through trial and error, through breath and patience. The sparks flicker, vanish, then return. And when the flames rise once more, the night is pierced by a light that no storm created. Humanity has not yet learned to make fire, but they have learned to preserve it, to protect it, to carry it with them as they move through a perilous world. The fire becomes more than a tool. It becomes a companion. It offers warmth during the cold nights, light against the dark, and safety from prowling predators. Around it, they gather to share food, gestures, stories without words. The flame unites them. It becomes the heart of their tribe, a living presence that demands care and devotion. Those who tend the fire become guardians, the first keepers of knowledge. They understand that if the fire dies, the darkness returns. So they watch it constantly, carry its embers from one camp to another, keeping the light alive. Across the endless savannas, and without realizing it, they have taken their first step toward technology, faith, and culture. What began as nature's accident has now become humanity's purpose. The flame is no longer just survival. It is identity. It is power. It is hope. Imagine being one of those early guardians, holding the first human fire in your hands. What would you feel? Wonder? Fear? Pride? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if this story ignited your curiosity, don't forget to like this video, so we can keep the flame burning together. The night once belonged to predators. For millions of years, when the sun fell, the world of early humans dissolved into shadows, ruled by the roars of lions and the cries of hyenas. But now, for the first time, that ancient darkness trembles before the light of a controlled flame. A circle of Homo erectus sits together, surrounded by flickering firelight. The air hums with the crackle of burning wood and the faint murmur of voices, not words as we know them, but sounds filled with meaning. Around the fire, humanity begins to change. The flame creates something new: time. Before fire, night was a void of fear and waiting. Now, it becomes a space for connection. Faces glow in the orange light, gestures grow softer, eyes meet. The group gathers not only for warmth but for something deeper, the beginning of communication, of shared experience. Fire allows them to see one another, not as scattered survivors, but as members of a tribe. The light holds predators at bay, granting safety. In that safety, imagination awakens. They experiment with tools, with bones, with stones, learning faster than ever before. They watch the way shadows move across the cave walls, tracing patterns. Perhaps the first sparks of symbolic thought. Fire doesn't just cook food, it cooks ideas. Under this new light, leadership emerges. Those who keep the flame become trusted, respected. The fire's rhythm becomes the tribe's heartbeat, marking the rhythm of their lives. Eat, rest, talk, dream. And slowly, stories are born. Tales of the hunt, of spirits, of ancestors. The fire becomes a storyteller, its dance mirroring the pulse of a growing culture. Each spark reflected in their eyes is more than just light. It is consciousness expanding. Around the fire, humans begin to see themselves not just as part of nature, but as something distinct within it. Together, under the stars and the gentle hum of burning wood, they take the first collective steps toward what we now call civilization. Because in the glow of that fire, humanity didn't just find warmth. They found each other. The fire crackles softly in the fading light. Around it, Homo erectus sits in quiet triumph. Pieces of meat skewered on sticks, sizzling over the flames. The smell rises into the night. Rich, smoky, and unlike anything the world has ever known. This is more than a meal. It is an evolutionary turning point. Before the mastery of fire, food was a constant struggle. Raw roots were tough, meat was hard to tear and digest, and parasites lurked in every bite. Eating was survival, not pleasure. But when these early humans learned that fire could change food, everything shifted. Flesh softened, fat melted, plants grew tender, and for the first time, food tasted alive. Cooking transformed energy itself, making nutrients more accessible and freeing the body from endless chewing and digestion. With cooked food came strength, not just of body, but of mind. Their jaws grew smaller, their teeth sharper, their brains larger. Firelight extended the day, and cooked meals fueled longer journeys, sharper tools, and deeper thoughts. In each flame, nature's chemistry was rewritten. The body of Homo erectus was evolving into something new, something more efficient, more adaptable, more human. Cooking also changed how they lived together. Around the fire, sharing became ritual. No longer did individuals eat in solitude, hiding from danger. They gathered, divided the meal, and built trust. The fire wasn't just a tool, it was a social hearth, the birthplace of community. It taught cooperation, patience, and gratitude. Imagine that first taste: smoky, warm, safe. Imagine realizing that the same force that once terrified could now nourish. That discovery ignited more than hunger. It sparked a transformation that would echo across millennia. From that moment on, fire was not only about survival, it was about progress. It was about creation. The flame had entered not just the world, but the human body itself. And as the embers glowed against the dark horizon, one truth became undeniable. Through fire, humanity began to feed not only its stomach, but its destiny. The world is changing. The same flames that once brought fear now serve a greater purpose. Homo erectus has learned not only to preserve fire but to use it, to shape the environment, bend nature's will, and transform raw instinct into innovation. Fire is no longer a wild force. It is now a tool, the first great instrument of power. In the flicker of the campfire, sparks leap upward like ideas taking flight. With fire, hunting becomes strategy. Dry grass is burned to flush animals from hiding. Smoke drives insects away. The landscape itself becomes a canvas, reshaped by human intention. For the first time, the earth begins to bear the mark of human control. By firelight, stones are heated and cracked open to reveal sharper edges, an accidental discovery that revolutionizes tool-making. Wooden spears are hardened in the flames, turning fragile branches into deadly weapons. What was once simple adaptation now becomes mastery. Humanity is no longer just surviving within nature, it is learning to command it. Fire also guards their growing camps. The scent of smoke and the glow of flame keep predators at a distance, creating invisible walls of safety. For the first time, humans carve out zones of control, boundaries between light and darkness, safety and danger, chaos and order. And within those borders, ideas begin to multiply. The flame becomes a teacher. It reveals patterns, reactions, consequences. When wood burns, it changes. When heat touches stone, it transforms. These observations are the earliest experiments in science. Curiosity turned to method. Each spark is a revelation, each ember a promise. Imagine those first moments of invention, when the tribe realized that fire could build as well as destroy. That realization would echo through time, from the first forges to the engines that would one day light the stars. Because from that ancient blaze, humanity's greatest truth was born. Progress begins when we dare to control the flame. If you think fire is still shaping our world today, from technology to imagination, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like this video to keep our journey burning bright. Night falls over the ancient world, but it no longer brings total darkness. Across the endless plains, a faint glow moves steadily through the horizon, bands of Homo erectus, carrying the fire with them. In bundles of bark and ash, protected inside hollowed stones or wooden shells, the flame travels. It is no longer tied to one place. It belongs to humanity itself. These early humans are moving, following the herds, chasing rivers, seeking shelter from drought and storm. The journey is perilous, stretching from Africa into the vast unknown lands of Asia and Europe. Yet wherever they go, one thing remains constant: the light of fire flickering against the night. It becomes their compass, their memory, their identity. The fire warms them against the unfamiliar cold of new continents. It turns strange territories into homes, forests into sanctuaries, caves into sanctums of safety. Under its glow, they roast their food, sharpen their tools, and whisper the unspoken language of survival. Every step they take, every camp they build, is illuminated by the same flame their ancestors first tamed. The earth they encounter is unlike anything they've known. The air grows colder, beasts are larger, fiercer. But with fire, they endure. They bring light into the frozen dark, turning the impossible into the achievable. Fire gives them the courage to cross mountains, to explore forests thick with shadows, to survive the biting chill of northern winds. Through this migration, humanity becomes a species without borders. The flame carried in their hands connects tribes separated by vast distances. A symbol older than language, older than history. It's the same fire that will one day burn in hearths, temples, and forges across the world. In the glow of those ancient embers, the human story spreads, a trail of light stretching across continents, linking generations. And though the world around them changes, the message of the flame remains the same. Where the fire burns, humanity belongs. The night is silent, except for the whisper of flames. Shadows dance on the walls of a cave where Homo erectus gathers close, faces painted with the trembling light of fire. The hunt is over, the day's dangers have passed, and now, in the stillness, the fire becomes something more than warmth or safety. It becomes mystery. They stare into the glowing heart of the flame, its unpredictable motion, its power to destroy and to create. Lightning once brought it from the heavens. Volcanoes spewed it from the belly of the earth. Fire, they sense, comes from somewhere beyond the world they know. It moves like life but cannot be touched without pain. It gives light, yet devours what it feeds on. To these early humans, it is not just a force, it is a being. Perhaps this is where the first questions of faith begin. The fire consumes offerings, bits of meat, dry leaves, carved sticks, disappearing them into smoke. Does something unseen receive them? The rising embers drift upward like souls escaping the body. Above, the stars shimmer like countless tiny fires, reflected in eyes filled with awe. Somewhere in that connection between earth and sky, the first spiritual thought ignites. There is power beyond the visible. Around the fire, gestures grow symbolic. Movements become rituals. The simple act of keeping the flame alive takes on sacred meaning. Those who tend it become intermediaries between the tribe and the unknown. The first shamans, the first priests. Fire becomes a language of reverence, a bridge between the human and the divine. As the flames dance higher, their light transforms fear into wonder. The tribe feels that within this glow lies something eternal, a spirit that has always existed and always will. They do not yet have words for it, but they feel it deep within their bones. The flame is more than nature. It is a reflection of themselves, their breath, their heartbeat, their relentless will to live. In that ancient moment, spirituality is born, not from temples or gods carved in stone, but from the flicker of fire in the darkness. Humanity begins to sense that creation, destruction, and transformation are all one and the same. And at the center of it all, the flame burns. Silent, eternal, divine. The fire burns low, its embers glowing like the heartbeat of time itself. It has been 1.9 million years since the first human dared to reach out toward the flame. And yet, that light has never gone out. From the savannas of Africa to the farthest corners of the modern world, the story of fire is the story of us. Every spark that flickered in a prehistoric campfire became the seed of progress. Fire forged the first weapons and the first art. It baked the first clay, smelted the first metals, and illuminated the first cities. The same glow that once kept Homo erectus warm in the dark now powers rockets, lights the night sky, and drives the pulse of entire civilizations. The mastery of fire did not just mark the dawn of humanity, it defined it. But its legacy is more than physical. Fire gave us imagination. It taught us to look into something greater than ourselves, to create, to transform, to destroy, and to rebuild. In every flicker we saw a mirror of our own nature, unpredictable, creative, endlessly hungry for meaning. The flame became both tool and teacher, a reminder that creation always walks hand in hand with responsibility. Even now, as we harness forces far beyond what our ancestors could dream, electricity, nuclear energy, the power of stars, the same ancient truth endures. The flame must be respected. The light that gave us life can still consume it. Our survival, as always, depends on balance. And yet, through all the centuries, one image remains unchanged. Humans gathered around a source of light, sharing warmth, ideas, and dreams. The same fire that once cast shadows on cave walls now glows through our screens. The same impulse to connect, to understand, to remember. From the first ember held in trembling hands to the digital sparks that link us, today the flame has guided every step of our journey. It burns in our cities, in our art, in our hearts. Because as long as humanity endures, so will the light we once stole from the storm. If this story made you see our ancient past in a new light, Consider subscribing to the channel and joining us on the next journey through time, where the echoes of prehistory still burn bright in who we are today.